Welcome to Same Day, Different Century. I'm Zach. Today is August 26th. On August 26th, 1910, Mother Teresa was born in Skopje. Skopje then sat in the Kosovo Vilayet, a province of an Ottoman Empire with 2 years left in Macedonia. 2 years earlier, the Young Turk Revolution had promised constitutional reform. That summer, weeks before she was born, an Albanian revolt across the region had been put down by Ottoman troops. Within 3 years, the Balkan Wars would strip the empire out of Macedonia entirely, and the child born that August would grow up a subject of Serbia, then of the new kingdom of Serbs, Croats, and Slovenes. She was baptized Agnesa Gonje Bojaco. Agnesa is Albanian for Agnes, and the surname Bojaco comes from the Turkish word for a painter and dyer. Her family were Catholic Albanians, which in Skopje meant a minority inside a minority. Most Albanians in the region were Muslim, most Slavs were Orthodox, and Catholic Albanians were a scattering in between. Her father, Nikola, was a builder and a member of the town council, and he was active in Albanian nationalist politics at a moment when that was a dangerous thing to be. He died suddenly in 1919, after a political meeting in Belgrade, when she was a child of 8 or 9. His family believed he had been poisoned. The cause was never medically established. The sociologist Gezim Alpyan, who has done the most sustained archival work on her Skopje years, argues it was most likely a political killing. By most accounts, the family's business partner absorbed the assets. Her mother, Drena, kept the household alive selling cloth and embroidery, and she also fed neighbors from her own table and took a dying woman into her home. Several more relatives died within a few years. The parish nearby, run by Jesuits, ran a sodality for young women, and its priests circulated letters home from Yugoslav Jesuits who had joined the mission in Bengal in the mid-1920s. In September 1928, she left for Ireland, to the Loreto Abbey at Rathfarnham outside Dublin, to learn English. She was 18. She never saw her mother or her sister again. That was not the plan. It was the outcome of politics neither of them controlled. Both women ended up in Tirana, and after Albania sealed itself and declared itself an atheist state, her repeated efforts to obtain a visa failed. Her mother died in 1972 and her sister the following year. She didn't set foot in Albania until 1991. She reached India in early 1929 and entered the novitiate at Darjeeling, taking the name Teresa. For nearly 20 years, she taught at the Loreto Convent School in Antali in East Calcutta, geography and history, mostly to Bengali girls, and in 1944 she became its headmistress. That is the whole first half of her life, a competent, unremarkable teaching nun. In 1943, the Bengal famine killed somewhere between 2 and 3 million people, and the dying walked into Calcutta looking for food. On August 16, 1946, communal rioting began that killed at least 4,000 people in 3 days by the government's count, and by other counts several times that. 3 weeks later, on September 10th, she took the train to Darjeeling for her retreat, and afterward she described what she called a call within a call, an instruction to leave the convent and live among the poor, not to visit them. A nun under perpetual vows cannot simply walk out. She needed permission to live outside her community while remaining a nun, and the Archbishop of Calcutta, Ferdinand Perrier, made her wait more than a year, testing whether the impulse would hold. The Archbishop first told her to ask Rome to release her from her vows outright. She wanted the other thing, to stay a nun and live outside the walls, and in the end he let her ask for it. Leaving as a private individual would have made her a charitable worker. Leaving with permission kept her inside the church's legal structure, where a new religious congregation could be founded, staffed, and multiplied. In August 1948, She exchanged the Loreto habit for a cheap white sari with a blue border and went to Patna, where the medical mission sisters gave her a few months of basic nursing instruction. She returned in December and began by teaching children in the open air in the Motishil slum, writing letters in the dirt. Her first recruits were her own former students from Intali. On October 7, 1950, the Missionaries of Charity were approved as a diocesan congregation with 12 members. Alongside poverty, chastity, and obedience, the sisters took a fourth vow: wholehearted free service to the poorest of the poor. She was also starting in a city that had just absorbed a demographic shock. Partition in August 1947 cut Bengal in half, and refugees crossed from the east into West Bengal by the hundreds of thousands and then by the million, settling on pavements, embankments, and railway land. In 1952, she took over an abandoned pilgrims' hostel beside the Calcutta temple and turned it into the home of the Pure Heart, for people found dying in the street whom hospitals would not admit. In 1955 came a children's home, then clinics for leprosy patients, and later a settlement for them outside the city, because leprosy sufferers were excluded from ordinary medicine and from ordinary life. In 1965, the congregation was raised to pontifical right, which meant it answered to Rome rather than to the Archbishop of Calcutta, and no longer needed Calcutta's permission to expand. The first foreign house opened in Venezuela that year. Rome, Tanzania, and Austria followed in 1968. A 1969 BBC documentary by Malcolm Muggeridge made her a figure in Western living rooms, and the donations arrived accordingly. In 1979 came the Nobel Peace Prize. She skipped the ceremonial banquet and asked that its cost be spent feeding the poor instead. She's said to have been asked what ordinary people could do for world peace, and to have answered, "Go home and love your family." In the Nobel lecture itself, she called abortion the greatest destroyer of peace. She stepped down in March 1997 after years of heart trouble and died in Calcutta on the 5th of September, aged 87. India gave her a state funeral, with the coffin carried on the gun carriages that had borne Gandhi and Nehru. She left close to 4,000 sisters in nearly 600 houses across 120 countries. She was beatified in 2003 and canonized by Pope Francis in September 2016. Her private letters, published in 2007 against her own instruction to destroy them, showed that from the year she left the convent to the year she died, apart from 5 weeks in 1958, she felt no presence of God at all, writing to her confessors of emptiness and darkness where her faith should have been. The woman photographed as certainty itself was, by her own account, working in the dark almost the whole way. That same day, different century. I'm Zach. We'll be back tomorrow with another date, another story. Thanks for listening.